difficulty with that, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I will give it my best shot. So far,
Okay.
I don't know what you're referring to, but
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures. One second.
logic and truth tables. What's the title of the course?
It's called like math reasoning. Let me pull it up really quickly. It's a weird, I guess, upper level math class that I'm required to take for my 4-year degree.
What are you majoring in?
Aerospace science.
Okay. So there's a lot of math in that.
Yep.
Have you made it through calc?
Yeah, I made it through calculus. I was okay in that.
Good. That's about as high as I go typically.
Okay.
Only because I get no demand for anything higher than calc. So
Mm-hmm.
whether I will be able to help you or not, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll take a look.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily higher level. I think it's just like another, I guess, bridge of math. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily higher though. It
Okay.
has to do with like philosophy.
Well, let's have a look at it. I got your email.
Okay.
And I know how to open these now. All right. Now, hold on a second. I need to do something first. I need to download this and then open it with Paint.
Okay.
I think last time I met with you, I was having this difficulty, and
Yes, I remember.
I finally figured out how to solve it. For some reason, Microsoft's programs that read JPG files don't work anymore. But I figured out that if I open it with Paint, then I could zoom in on it.
Hmm.
Let me do that here. Hold on. And the problem is it takes a little bit of trouble. I mean, it's a little bit, have to do a number of steps.
Okay.
All right, almost there. I don't like what I saw because I don't understand it. So A, then B, then Z. Is that?
Yep, that's one of the sheets. I think I sent you another one, and so that's the first sheet, and that kind of has some directions on it, so that should help a little bit.
What are you supposed to do with number 30? What's the answer? A, then B, then Z means what? What's the answer to that problem?
Well, I have the directions. I don't have the answer, unfortunately, but the
What are
directions
the
say,
instructions? I don't see any instruction.
oh, check it. I just sent another email with the directions on it.
Okay, hold on. I did not get that second email.
Okay, let me try and send it again.
Got one only from Taylor Penn.
Okay, I'm going to try and send it again.
Tell me when it says file sent.
Okay. I'm going to check and see if it got sent. Oh, yeah, it's saying sending. That's what's going on.
So, logic. I can honestly say in the 10 years that I've been tutoring, I have not seen the kind of problem that you're showing me on here.
Hmm.
Can you just verbalize what the instructions are?
Yeah, sure. So it says compute the truth values of the following symbolic statements, supposing that the truth value of A, B, and C is true, and the truth value of X, Y, Z is false.
Wow. Huh. So compute the true value. Okay. So the true value of A, B, and C is true, and the true value of X, Y, and Z is false.
Correct.
So number 30, I assume you have to do the circled ones?
Yes.
Do you have answers on any of them?
Unfortunately not.
Boy, that would be helpful. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to figure this out without answers. If we had answers, then I can kind of figure out a logic to them.
Mm-hmm.
The answers could either verify whether the logic is proper or not.
I gotcha.
So let's look at just 30. A implies B, and B implies Z. So what? A does not imply Z? Is that the gist of it? In other words,
Yeah,
since Z is false,
so if A implies B, that would be true, since A and B are both true.
but then true implies false, which is false.
Okay, so I'm thinking it would be
Well,
false
I
then.
have no idea. I'm guessing. Number 32, I would say, is true, because you have a true, true, and a true.
And a true.
Is there any way you can get the answer to even one of these problems?
Let me see if I can look up a truth generator online.
Or give me a sample problem. If you can get a sample problem in your book, then we can figure out what's going on.
Okay, I'll try. Since the thing is, it's not your average math class, it's an online math class, so I haven't had too much support from my teacher, unfortunately.
Okay. I did get your email here. Let me open both of them. Download both of them. Hold on.
And so the ones that you see drawn there were ones that I copied from the teacher that I saw that she put online.
Yeah, let me have a look at those first before
Okay.
I even talk about them, because I'm really in the dark here. All right, so you've sent me 3 files today, is that right?
Yeah, it was meant to just be that 2 files, but I double sent you one trying to get it through.
Okay, that won't hurt as long as I can open it with Paint. This one of them?
Yep, it's just that one and the other one that you already saw.
So this is the instructions. Compute the truth value of following symbolic statements, supposing that the truth value of A, B, and C is T, and the truth value of X, Y, and Z is false. And I'm presuming that this works a lot like division and multiplication. If you multiply 2 negatives, you get a positive. If you have a negative times a positive, you have a negative.
Not exactly. It's like, it's hard to explain since I was just following along with what I saw online from my other peers in a discussion.
Okay.
So on number 2, you see that little squiggly line before the B? That means it flips it into a negative instead of a positive if it was a positive.
Wow. So PVX, B is was originally a truth, it's now a false.
Correct.
We have false versus false equals false.
Yeah, since that V means a and then an upside down V means or.
Okay. So that solves 2. Number 3, we have a truth and a false. And that's a
And
true.
so, yeah, and that one's translated to true or false equals true.
Right. Okay. So the V is or, the upside V, down V is and.
Correct.
All right. We should be able to figure this out. Um, you care if we stay on this page for a moment, just so that I think
No, absolutely.
out if we stay on this page?
Yeah, sure. I think that'd be beneficial too.
Okay, here, let me get to where I can write. Okay, so that is true. True or false is true. This other writing, I presume, is for number 6.
Correct.
So we have B, which is true, or C, which is true. So that's obviously true. Or, hold on. The first one, that's and. Well, truth and truth is truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or
False and false.
false and false, which has got to be false. So I get that one. Is that correct? False and false
Yes.
has to be false?
Yes.
All right. So let's look at number 10. All right. So I'm sure that we want to start inside the parentheses.
Correct.
Okay. So we've got X and opposite Y. Now I presume false and truth is false.
Yes.
So we've got false and truth, and we have a negative sign in front of it. So this whole part of it is true.
Correct.
Okay. Or B and opposite C. So that is true and
false.
False, which is true.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, if a true and false equal a true or a false, but I do know true or false is true.
In this particular case, it's not going to matter, because whether I put a T or an F there, the answer is going to be T, correct?
Yes.
Not that that helps us much. So we have to figure out what true and false is. Do we have one up here? We don't. We don't have any answers to prove. Let's see. We had a true and true. That was a true. And we had a false and a false. And that was a false. One thing we don't know is what is a false and a true.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look through the book really quickly again.
Okay.
And see if I can find anything.
Now, if we can find out that one, I think we'll have enough to do all of these.
Mm-hmm.
What is a false and a true? It's pretty clear that a true and a true is a true, and a false and a false should be a false. I'm not positive what a false and a true is. My first inclination would be it's a false.
Yeah, since false usually overrules true.
Okay, so that is definitely a false, but now when you have a true or a false, you get a true.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, so number 10 appears to be true. Let's see. Is this on the next page, or can I just work from this page here?
I can work from this page here.
Okay, let's figure this one out. Hold on. All right, so
Yeah,
let's
this book
deal
isn't that
with,
good. It doesn't really explain.
you always work from the inside out. So this is true or false, correct?
Yes.
Which is true. So now we have because that squiggly mark is outside the bracket. And now what is this? That is true or false. So that's true also.
Mm-hmm.
So far, so good?
Yeah, it looks like it.
That's approximately, well, we know that that's got to be T. So that's got to be F.
Yeah, that makes sense to me from what we see.
Yeah, I hope I'm not telling you the wrong thing here. I'd hate to do an hour tutoring session giving you the wrong information.
Yeah, I understand. It's a weird topic, though.
Yeah, it is. I haven't done logic since my college days. Um, all of these seem to be pretty much the same, where you work from the inside out. And
Mm-hmm.
really, the only thing that we're not really sure of is what is true and false. What is that? At least for the first 25. In other words, as long as you know what true or true is, false or false is, true or false is, and then true and true, false and false, true and false. So there's 6 different things you have to memorize. Once you know those 6 things, you can go backwards into these first 25 problems.
Mm-hmm.
Just work from the inside out. In other words, number 25 here, I'm going to start by assuming I know the answers to those 3 things or 6 things. I'm going to start there. I'm going to figure that, and then I'm going to figure that, and then I'm going to figure that. And then I'm going to work backwards.
That seems like the best bet to me.
I'm
It's a
pretty sure
long
that's
one.
correct. It's just I'm not sure what true and false is. Because logically, that's kind of a hard one to figure out what that would be. If I have a true statement and a false statement, and I got
Oh,
it.
I think I found it.
Oh,
Okay, so a false and false equals false. A false and true equals false. A true and false equals false. A true and true equals true.
okay. So
But a
everything is
false,
false except a true and a true.
correct.
So we know that a true and a false equals a false.
Correct.
So we can do all of these up to 25.
Mm-hmm.
Go back and look at what did we do last? 10?
18 we did last.
Did 18? Okay. Well, you don't have any circled up until between 18 and 35. But I think you can see that we can figure out all of these pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Now I see the trend.
In other words, yeah. And here, let's just go through 25. It appears to be the hardest one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So B is true and false, that is an F, correct?
Yes.
And then I'm going to do this one. We have a false and a true, that is a false.
Correct.
And I'm going to do this one. That is a false or
False or false. So that's a false.
that's a false. And I'm going to do a true or a true.
Or true.
That's a true. And now I'm going to do this one or that one. So that's a false.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, this whole thing is a false.
Okay. I gotcha.
Or a false or a true, which is a true, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have a false or a true with an...
Which is true.
Hold on a second. I neglected both of those.
Oh, yeah.
The first one applies only to this false.
Mm-hmm.
So that turns it into a true. Right?
Yes.
Now I have a true or a true, which is a true. Now I have to apply that second squiggly mark. So I'm getting false as the answer for this.
Okay, I see.
Now,
This is tricky.
well, it's a little tricky, but not really. Not as long as you understand the 3 or 4 basic rules. That the squiggly mark means opposite, that that means or, that means and you know what T or false is. In other words, if you know all the combinations. Right? And order doesn't matter. Is that correct? True and false is the same as false and true?
Correct.
Which is false. Both of them.
Yes, everything's false.
Yeah,
For and except true and true.
with an and statement, the only thing that is true is if you have 2 true statements. In other words, if you have a true and another true, then you have a true. But anything else is a false. Okay? And these squiggly marks, they aren't really more difficult as long as you work from the inside out. In other words, do that one first. Do that one second. After you get an answer, apply this squiggly mark. So this bracket becomes something else. And then you do and whatever that whole thing becomes. Then whatever you get, you do the opposite of it because it's got that sign in front of everything. So it's kind of a lot like negative signs.
Yeah, pretty much that squiggly line means not. So if there was a true, then it means not true, which implies it's false.
Right. Right. Exactly. Before we get to 26, you want to see me do any other, or you want to go over any of these others, just so you can make sure you got it down?
And I feel pretty comfortable with those. I'd say the ones with the arrow seem like our next obstacle.
Okay, well, I need help here. I don't know what that means. A, then B is what I would.
Let me look for it. So what I'm seeing is it means it's conditional. So A if B. So I guess true if B is true.
You sure it's not the other way around? It seems to me it should be the other way around. If A is true, then B is true.
All right, let me look really quickly through the book and see if I can get a context clue.
What would the answer be here? Or what would an answer look like?
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
That's fine. Go ahead. If you can just find one example of that or that or that, we'll probably be able to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of breaking it up in some type of way, where it's saying, yeah, so for example, like how they have one phrase saying, if I work hard, I'll get a raise. And so B would be, I'll get a raise, but A would be working hard. So it's like a premise
Hold
and
on.
then another
If
premise.
I work hard,
I'll get a raise.
I'll get a raise. Okay. So if A is true, B is true.
Mm-hmm. Like you were saying, so you're correct when you're saying it's the other way around. So if A is true, B is true.
Right. But if B is true, A isn't necessarily true. It doesn't go both ways. Or you
True.
might get a raise because your boss loves you, not because you're working hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there's definitely an order here that matters. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I'm sure when you started this course, they started you off with P and Q. If P, then Q. Does not mean if Q, then P. What it does mean, if not Q, then not P.
Okay.
In other words, if I say, if P, then Q, the only thing you can decipher from that is if P, then Q, but if not P, if not Q, then not P. But it does not mean if Q, then P. And that's usually the flawed logic that most people use. Not just people,
Mm-hmm.
but advertisements, society, everybody falls for this flawed logic that if P then Q means if Q then P.
Mm-hmm. It only
Not
goes one
true.
way.
It's not true at all. So on number 26, if A then B, what are they looking for as an answer? B?
Well, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you
It
have
may
any
be.
examples at all on these kind of the arrow problems?
Unfortunately, I do not, but I'll look and see if I can find one.
If we can figure out how to do 26, we can probably work out the rest of it. It's the beauty of logic. You can just see one answer.
Or I'm thinking if the whole statement would be false. So, for example, if A is true, then B is true, which means the whole thing is true. That's what I'm thinking. So, both of the premises and then seeing what the conclusion of the whole statement is, if it's correct. So, like you're saying, how it can go one way but not both ways. If it were to go the first way, it would be a correct statement. But if it were to be flipped around the reciprocal, then it would be false. So
So
that's what it looks like it's
what's the
asking.
answer going to look like on 26?
So for 26, so if A is true, then B is true. So the statement is true. So then we just put a big T next to it because the A means the T and then the B is the T.
There doesn't seem to be any connection between 26, 27, and 28. That's the only problem that I have in your logic. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, 26 basically says if A, then B. And that's all it says. Now, we might be able to come up with if not B, then not A. So I could write it perhaps this way. If not B, then not A. That is the true statement that comes from if A, then B.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that is the right answer, you think? Because
So
I
if
don't know
not,
that there's any other statement you can make. when you're saying if A, then B, the only other thing that comes out of that is if not B, then not A.
Yeah, let me see if I can look.
Yeah, there's no point in going forward here unless we can figure out what the correct answer is to 26.
Okay.
But I'm guessing the one I've circled. If not B, then not A. Problem is
Yeah.
that's almost too easy. I noticed that all of these, you could just do that. In other words, 27 would be if not X, then not A. 8 would be if
Mm-hmm.
not Y, then not B. So that's almost a little too simple. I'm a little concerned that that's maybe not correct.
Yeah, too easy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm scrolling to see. Yeah, I'm looking at one that says original implication is if P then Q, and it just shows an arrow. I'm
Okay.
trying to see what they're exactly looking for.
Yeah, so you're looking at, yeah, that's all, most logic starts with P and Q, and it would look like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
Well,
so it's saying if P
only
then
thing you
Q,
can say about that is if not Q, then
not P.
P. Yeah, where do you live in Florida,
I
Taylor?
live over by like the Deerfield area.
Okay, so here's the statement. If you live in Deerfield Beach, you live in Florida, correct?
Correct.
That does not mean if you live in Florida, you live in Deerfield Beach. But what it
Which is
does mean
correct.
is if you do not live in Florida, you do not live in Deerfield Beach, correct?
Yes.
So you can see how you get the if not Q, then not P.
Mm-hmm.
A real simple example. I'm just not sure that that's all there is to this. There may be a lot more to it that I don't understand or am not seeing. Um,
Yeah, I have no idea.
well, I tell you what, we've done a half-hour session. If you can maybe do a little research and come up with the answer to 26, 27, and 28, then
Mm-hmm.
I can probably help you a lot with everything that follows that. Presuming, I don't know. Let me have a look at what else we got here. What did we originally start with? Okay. Okay. So I think these are going to follow similar rules. In other words, you still have to figure out what if A then B means before we can evaluate A then B then Z. Also, I guess I need to know if A and B and C are still true and X and Y and Z are still false. Maybe they are.
Yeah, that's correct, since it's still under that same, I guess, directions.
Well, let's just play around with it here for a second before I let you go. So if A and B are true, then we have A is true, then B, which is true. And both of those are going to be true. So Z is going to be true. So Z is true. Is that a possible answer?
Yes. Since we just have to figure out whether the statement itself as a whole is true or false.
Okay. Then I think we're okay. I think, yeah. In fact, let me go back for a moment to the earlier one. We know that A, in other words, we need to pay attention to the original instructions, which are that A, B, and C are true, X, Y, and Z are false. So if A is true, then B is true. So B is true.
Mm-hmm.
If A is true, X is false. So X is false. If B is true, Y is false. And I'm not sure I'm doing this right. You need to find an example.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm doing this right, and it's really kind of pointless for us to do all of these if we're not doing it right. It'd be more hindrance than help.
I got you. I understand.
Let me suggest something. I got nothing but time today, tomorrow, well, not so much tomorrow, but for the most part this summer. So I'm happy to help you with these, but I need a little bit of help from you since I haven't tutored logic in 40 years. I need you to tell me what the answer to that is.
Yeah, when I find it out, I can send it to you.
Well, or just tell it to me before a next session. And why don't we just put off things until you find that out? And then that you got your leisure to find it out. You got plenty of time to make appointments. Do you have a test coming up soon?
Yeah, it's coming up tomorrow, unfortunately. I might just have to try my best for it, ultimately.
Well,
And it's fine. I got good grades, so I can take a hit. My GPA can handle it.
Hold on. Let me just look at my tomorrow. My tomorrow happens to be not that open.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. I've been working a full-time job, so it's been difficult anyway.
I'm tied up tomorrow from about 9:30 my time to maybe 5:30 my time. So,
Okay.
oh no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Tuesday. Monday, I got all kinds of time between 11 my time and 6:30 my time. So
Okay.
if you want to schedule another session for tomorrow, even if it's just a half hour, go ahead. Here, I'll open up the schedule a little bit for you.
Yeah, I'll see. Since I have to do it in the morning, that's the only issue.
Well, in the morning, I'm open except between 10 and 11 my time, which is noon to 1 your time.
Yeah, that's too late.
If
The
you want
class
to do
is
it
at
earlier than
8:30.
that, I can do something at 8 my time, which would be 10 your time.
Yeah, unfortunately, the class is at 8:30. It's okay. I'll just try and see if I can figure it out.
Well, or if you can just get the answer to that question, I got lots of time later tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I'll type it up and research and see what I can find.
All right. One last issue, Taylor.
Yes.
Got a $48 outstanding balance here that my records.
Okay, I'll have my mom send that in there for
I'm
you.
not 100% sure that hasn't been paid, but it's a year old, and usually if I get it paid, I enter it. So I suspect
Okay.
that's real, that $48.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not gonna not tutor you because of that. So
No, I got you.
deal with that however you want. But
Yeah, I'll tell my
mom has
mom
been
about
very
it.
good to me. She brought me a lot of customers, so um, I'm always going to be willing to work with you.
Yeah, I'll just,
On
yeah,
stuff that
that's
I
fine.
know. Unfortunately, this is not something that I know, not yet. But I do
Okay.
believe if you can just get some examples on how to do A then B or A then X, you can give me an answer on both of those. I think we'll be able to work it out.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, and I'll have my mom send in the money when
Okay.
she gets back.
No problem.
Yeah, if that were to happen again, please email us. That was an accident.
That's fine. I'm sure it was. Your mom always was very fast paying. So I don't know what happened there. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. I'll just charge you
Okay.
for half an hour for today.
Okay.
Um, hopefully you can find some examples of those, and then I can help you with them.
Okay.
Although I
Yeah, that sounds like
suspect
a
that once
plan.
you find examples of them, you're not going to need any help. You're going to know the answers by then. Because there's nothing really overly complicated about these. You just have to know what the simple ones mean. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Taylor, I'll talk to you again, hopefully.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for the help, Mr. Callen. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye.